So I can't imagine that anyone in their right mind would not throw up the stop signal and say, hey, man, 12 hours, for me, after 30 minutes, it would be enough. But, she's been in there for an extended period of time. These interrogations, these cops will work in shifts conducting investigations. And it's an interesting thing. I think that the broader issue here is not going to be so much, in my area of expertise, which is forensics. It's going to be dealing with intent. What was her very difficult for the prosecution to prove. If I were the prosecutor in this case, I would not want this case. I think that it would be kind of a slippery slope to be on. So it'll be interesting to watch it develop to go down the road, and it'll certainly make nice fodder for the papers up in the Northeast. That's for sure.
Yeah, everybody has the right to remain silent. Very few people have the ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're absolutely right, Dwane.
That's it. And and also if you lie to a cop, it's a crime. If the cops lie to you, it's good police work.
Yep. You're absolutely right. So when in doubt, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And call Dwane or Alex, depending where you are. Okay, 2 cops in Louisiana charged with murder. Here's some sound and we'll talk.
We begin with breaking news overnight. Just 72 hours after a police pursuit ended in gunfire, 2 Louisiana law enforcement officers are under arrest, charged with murder in the death of a 6-year-old autistic boy. The boy's father was wounded when the officers opened fire on the car in which he and his son were riding. David Begnaud is in the central Louisiana city of Marksville with the latest. David, good morning.
Anthony, good morning. Those 2 police officers will wake up in jail this morning where they are being held without bail. There is video, we're told, of the shooting and the events leading right up to it. And the head of the Louisiana State Police says he's watched the video, and it's one of the most disturbing things he's ever seen. 6-year-old Jeremy Martis died in the front seat of his father's vehicle with his dad at the wheel. Investigators say both father and son were shot by Marksville police officers Norris Greenhouse Jr. and Derek Stafford. The officers surrendered Friday night and were charged with second-degree murder for the death of Jeremy and the attempted second-degree murder of his father, Christopher Few.
Did you guys intend to kill that father and son?
Neither officer would say a word as they were rushed out of the Avoyelles Parish jail in handcuffs. A law enforcement source tells CBS News the officers will not tell state police investigators why they wanted to pull over Mr. Few on Tuesday night, starting a police pursuit that ended in gunfire. Mike Edmondson, head of the Louisiana State Police, has seen the video of the shooting.
It is exceptionally rare in a case of an officer-involved shooting for an arrest to happen within 72 hours. How key to these arrests was that video?
That video was incredible. I mean, as a father, much less head of the state police, I looked at that tape and I said, this is incredibly disturbing.
CBS News has learned it was a third officer who recorded the shooting with a body camera after he responded to a call for backup. According to our source, that officer told investigators Christopher Few was not acting in a threatening manner toward police.
Initially, there was a report that Christopher Few had a warrant out for his arrest. Turns out there is no warrant. He had no gun in the vehicle. What was that man doing to warrant that traffic stop?
I think the rest of the investigation tells us that. I mean, we've got to look at everyone involved, and we'll get to the part of that. But what we learned from the very first night, what we heard an hour after that, was that they were trying to effect an arrest warrant on a traffic stop. Not factual. Not factual.
Colonel Edmondson says initially the 2 officers now charged with a crime claimed that Christopher Few tried to reverse his vehicle and ram it into one of their police cars. This is the cop car that was reportedly hit. The damage appears very minor.
Was Christopher Few someone who deserves blame here?
Well, it doesn't seem from what we see, because we don't know why they were trying to chase him.
A source tells us the 2 officers now arrested fired a total of 18 shots at both father and son. Mr. Few was shot twice but survived and is listed in serious condition at a local hospital. The Avoyelles Parish coroner says young Jeremy was shot 5 times in the head and chest.
I can tell you he didn't suffer. He didn't suffer. And his dad was near him, but he did not suffer.
The 2 law enforcement officers arrested usually work for the Marksville City Police Department, but on the night of the shooting, they were working for the city marshal's office. Law enforcement is confirming to CBS News they are probing whether or not one of the officers arrested has a personal grudge against Christopher Few and may have sought revenge with gunfire. Anthony?
David Begnaud in Marksville, Louisiana with that very disturbing story. Thanks, David.
Okay, Alex Sanchez, New York defense attorney, what is your take on this disturbing story?
This case is shocking in the extreme. It's horrific on a really monumental level. I heard a few different stories. One story I heard was that they wanted him on some type of a warrant. Now remember, these officers were not acting as police officers. They were. This was like a second job, working for the marshal's office. Now, I don't know exactly what the marshal's office does over there. Maybe they serve civil warrants or orders of protection. I'm not sure exactly what they do, or lawsuits. But another story I heard was that they claimed that they saw him assaulting a girlfriend of his or a woman, and that's why they pursued him. Even if all that's true, I don't care if Few had a warrant out for his arrest. I don't care if Few assaulted a woman. I don't care if Few sped that car away, and I don't even care if Few backed up that car into the police officers. The police officers did not have a right to use deadly force the way they used it. And even if they did have a right to use deadly force, they used so much force, 18 shots into a car with nobody shooting back. It tells me that these cops, they must have been on like amphetamines or smoking, crystal meth or something, because this behavior is so far off the level, it's like unbelievable. And it's on videotape. It seems to me that this case is an absolute slam dunk. These cops are finished. They're going to get convicted. And I don't know if they have the death penalty in that state. But if they do, yes, those cops may be facing the death penalty. And you know what? They should be facing the death penalty.
Dwane Cates, Phoenix attorney, so say you.
Well, number one, I don't think anybody should face the death penalty, because I think it's too costly and too burdensome on the system. And if you lock somebody up for the rest of their life, that's probably good enough. This is just a crazy case. I mean, one thing that everybody out there should understand, though, if the police are pulling you over, just pull over. I mean, very few of these things where we see people getting shot, it's because they're running away. Okay, now, justified or not, now, I'm not generally the police apologist, so, but it's just crazy that, what they did here. Now, I do disagree a little bit in that, in my firearms training and the way I was brought up and was trained, that if I'm faced with a deadly threat, I unload my weapon. Okay, I don't shoot twice and then see if everything's okay. Okay, if you're faced with deadly force, you eliminate if you're going to pull your weapon and use it, you eliminate the deadly force. Okay.
Right.
Now, I don't think these officers face deadly force in this case. And something else happens if you've ever, if you've fired a lot of weapons. I mean, even somebody that's done a lot of shooting. I mean, I've got a Sig Sauer 40 that holds 13 rounds, and at the range, when I just stand up and unload it, my heart's beating 100 beats a minute. By the time I'm done shooting. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush, and that happens. There's a lot of literature on that, on police shootings, and that happens. I mean, it gets, it says they're high on crack. Well, they're at least high on adrenaline at a minimum.
Yeah, we did hear.
Dwane, this is not, an ordinary citizen. These are police, and police are presumably trained when to use their gun, when not to use it, and understand that they may have this adrenaline rush. So, I mean, that's all very interesting. But they were operating on some other level that we don't comprehend or understand. The only thing we understand that it's a crime, and it's likely that they are going to be convicted, especially after that videotape comes out, which, by the admission of their own police sergeant, was horrific. So I think these guys are absolutely finished.
Well, I agree. I don't think they were justified in any way, shape, or form in this case.
Joseph Scott, your opinion on this case, Joseph Scott Morgan.
Yeah, in response to what Alex had said just a moment ago about the marshal's office, that's what kind of sets me back here. I am from Louisiana, and I started my career down there. The marshals and the constables in the state of Louisiana, generally they are in fact law enforcement officers and are post certified. However, their job is generally to do things like serve papers and conduct evictions and all those sorts of things. It's not like they're out on patrol. So unless the marshal some other purpose that I'm not aware of, that's generally the job. And I find that kind of odd in this case. It's at this point the circumstances are a bit murky to me, and I'd like to go back to this idea, this thing that's been put forward, where the father had an argument with this non-specific female. I didn't know if it was the child's mother or if it was a girlfriend that the father had. The child was strapped in the front seat of the vehicle. I think he's only 6 years old. I don't know if his vehicle, I don't know if it's a pickup truck or an SUV. I've heard a couple of different things. The amount of force that was used in this particular case is astonishing. I don't know enough about the chase either. My thought was, and what I'd initially heard was that the officers were in their vehicle when they observed this dispute take place. So I don't see how they could be threatened as a result of this fellow backing up on them. It's not like they're pedestrians that are standing by giving him direct commands, and then they rush and hop into the car. The portrait that had been painted for me was that they were, in fact, in the vehicle when they observed this. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You guys correct me. And then this chase ensues and winds up on a dead-end street. Where else is this guy going to go? And it's at this point that they dismount and they fire into this truck 18 times. Very, very shocking. I could see they've certainly got enough rope, I think. Interesting to see how the court views this. Louisiana State Police has taken over the investigation, which I'm glad of. I wish that had happened in, say, like Ferguson, Missouri, instead of the locals handling that. The local county up there, they just turned it over to the state police there. It's smart on their part to turn this over to the state police and allow them to handle the investigation.
And Dwane, do you think that these cops nowadays are just out of hand, or we're just hearing it more with the social media, with phone cameras, with things like that? Or is it just like the cops are more doing it, getting caught more now?
Well, I think they're just getting caught more. I don't think I think they're doing this same stuff that they've always been doing. I think that the fact that there's everybody's got a video camera in their pocket now, and I mean everybody. I think it's a good thing. I mean, there are a lot of police forces that really, really resist and don't want body cameras for this very reason. That's what's going to hang these cops is the body camera of the third cop that wasn't involved in the shooting. Okay, and a lot of police forces don't want body cams because, again, I mean, and Alex can probably back me up on this. I don't know how many times, my clients, they recounted what my client said in a police report. My client goes, I didn't say that.